What's up YouTube? This is Salmon Runner, and today, oh boy, you guys are in for a treat, because I will be taking my 0-star splatter scope into X Battle Clam Blitz on Museum d'Alfonsino and Manta Maria. I am so excited to play this rotation that I am queuing up for it right when map modes change over, and if you'll look to your bottom left, you'll see I'm playing in the evening on the weekends at the end of July. I live in Eastern Time in North America, so I typically play at times when everyone on my continent pretty much is awake and online, so we should get lots of matches. But now that we're in matchmaking, I'm actually going to put my controller down and not take a single practice shot, because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that Splatoon will not be putting me in a Clam Blitz game today. Instead, it will pretend to look for players for 60 seconds and then give me the message, "Not enough players, please try again," in this first-party Nintendo Switch game that sold 10 million copies. Now, to be fair, it does sometimes take longer than 60 seconds, which would imply that it is finding at least a few other players, but the 60-second disconnect is by far the most common result I got in this rotation, and I can say that because I tracked it. Here is a chart of all the times I would be told "not enough players, please try again" over the next 2-hour rotation. The longest time it spent in matchmaking was 110 seconds. It told me there were not enough players after an average of 70.87 seconds each time. I was asked to please try again a total of 84 times, and I played a total of, let me just check my notes here, 0 Clam Blitz games. If you're concerned for my sanity now, don't worry, I knew this would happen, so I had other stuff I was doing while recording this. I just had to stay close enough to my Pro Controller to hit A, then L, then A and A again every 70 seconds. But what's going on here? Is my game bugged? There is a bug involving network address settings where people will get this message over and over no matter what mode they're queuing up for. Usually the solution is to restart their Switch or their internet, or change their network's NAT type, and this mostly happens when the game is new to people. In fact, to this day, if you Google Splatoon 3 X Battle, not enough players, you still only get results from the first 3 months the game was out, before X Battle even existed. Very helpful, Google, thank you. But that's not the problem that my game is having. This is only happening to me in X Battle Clam Blitz, and not even the other ranked modes. And I can prove it because at the end of this experiment, when maps changed over again, I immediately queued for X Battle Splat Zones on Hammerhead and Wahoo, and got a match in the first 70 seconds. So what's the difference between Splat Zones and Clam Blitz? Well, my Splat Zones X Power is more of a normal score that you see players have, while my Clam Blitz X Power is, I guess, a bit less flattering. I can corroborate that this is the reason it stopped giving me matches, thanks to this one Reddit post from recent times, where 2 players with similar scores were being told not enough players in Rainmaker and Clams, respectively. So thank you to Almond Cyclone and 1338 Hacks on Team Dog for sharing that and letting me know I'm not crazy. Now, I don't have to defend my level of play, but I will say that it didn't even take much stubborn losing to fall to this score, because your placement matches can put you at 1500 or lower. I went 1-4 in mine, and then you can lose over 100 X power at once from a single series. So I reached 1405 in a single map rotation early in Sizzle season, and have been soft banned from playing it for the rest of the season. That's kind of messed up, right? Now, I know some of you will watch this and say, well, that'll never happen to me because I'm good. And that's probably true, but I also found out recently that there's no guarantee you even get to finish your placement matches. Friend of the channel Tapout, who plays on a competitive team, was doing his Clam Blitz placements a little bit after I recorded this, and started getting the not enough players message over and over, all of 2 games into his placement series. So what was Tapout's crime here? Waiting a bit too long to play X Battle and then losing his first 2? Which brings up another interesting point. that I also did get to play 2 games at my current score before it shut me off forever, which implies that the game is actually updating your rank after every match and just not showing it to you. Have you ever gotten within 1 win of a series victory and then all your opponents suddenly got really good? That's probably why. And it also means that you can fall below whatever threshold mid-series and then not even be given a chance to bring it back, like I was totally gonna. Anyway, sorry if Tap Out and I missed the fine print on X Battle that says, don't lose too many points or you'll fall off an invisible points cliff that locks you out of the mode until next season. And also, make sure you start your placements within a certain date of the season starting and don't lose your first 2. If that's how this mode is intended to work, there should probably be some kind of indicator for the player, right? But I think there's no way that's intended. And how is it even possible that a game this large is having trouble finding players? Let's take a moment to think about all the ways the Splatoon player base is divided up already. First, out of those 10 million sales, you need whatever the active player base is who's still turning on the game regularly. That's probably like a single digit or a fraction of a percent. Then you need whatever percentage of the active player base actually unlocks X Battle. I've seen that estimated to be 1% in Splatoon 2. Now, I know they numerically lowered the requirement for X Battle in this game from S plus 10 to S plus 0, and I've seen this idea out there that let in all the Timmies. But remember that ranking up worked very differently in Splatoon 2. Yes, the ranked modes were scored separately from each other, but also you could go from S plus 0 to S plus 9 in a single ranked bar, which definitely doesn't happen anymore, and you wouldn't lose your progress in S because there weren't seasonal resets for regular ranked. Also in Splatoon 3, the only real way to rank up is through Anarchy series, and that mode has its own issues, I would say. The series go really long, they're longer than X Battles. You have to see your points go down before you can even start one, which has always felt bad. You're gambling your points. Nintendo likes gambling again. There's this stick with team button, which has no place in solo queue in my opinion. And also there's just more competition in Splatoon 3 because you can access all the ranked modes in Anarchy Open, whereas in the first 2 games, if you wanted to solo queue for a ranked mode, Ranked Battle was it. All this is to say that it's probably a similarly low percentage of players that are even bothering to hit S plus 0 every season in this game compared to S plus 10 once in the last game. But then, before they can play their first X Battle, they have to choose between the Tenatec and Takaroka divisions. I live in North America, so I play in Tenatec, which is probably the smaller of the 2 because the game is so much more popular in Japan. And then the players who have unlocked X Battle in Tenatec, who are playing the game at the same time as me, have to actually be queuing for X Battle clams and not one of the game's 7 other always online modes. And then, after all of that, phew, we finally get to just 1 player pool in X Battle, right? No, there's clearly hard divisions even within X Battle that will never be match-made across. Now, I haven't been able to find data on how exactly the matchmaking works, whether it's like you have to be within a certain X power range of a room host, or if it works like brackets. But let's say in theory that there are groups of 200 X power that you can only match within. I could see there being 64 players in Tenatec between 1600 and 1800 X power, queuing up at peak hours, which would not be a problem. That would give you 8-player games fairly easily. But it could be that there's only 7 from 1600 and below. I mean, it has to be 7 or fewer to never produce a match, but remember that I mostly got DC'd at 60 seconds, so the requirement might be even more strict than this. But here is where any sensible online multiplayer game would just take a player from the nearest rank and match them down for a hot second so that everyone queuing for the game could get a match. Or vice versa, if it's the high rank that is underpopulated, you match someone up sometimes. This is not what Splatoon 3 X Battle does. If it's not finding players that meet its hard matchmaking requirements, it just will not give you a game, ever. I hope I don't need to overly argue that that is a pending disaster for any online multiplayer game. Holy cow, This is happening now when the game is less than a year old. What happens when we have this same matchmaking system in a couple of years when the game's player base goes down? What's happening now for players who play at odd hours when their entire continent isn't awake? What happens if your game has one ranked mode that fewer people want to solo queue for whatever reason? What happens if your game gets marketed to everyone in one region and gets almost no marketing at all in another region, and that creates a regional imbalance? I know I'm showing off an extreme version of this, and it seems like a niche problem to have. I mean, it must be niche if only 7 players or fewer experience it at a time. But my main argument in this video is that this is making everyone's matchmaking worse. I've seen pro players complain that matchmaking in X Battle takes way too long. One of the more common complaints I've seen about X Battle is that you run into the same 20 players over and over. Well, no wonder you've been running into the same 20 players over and over. The game is refusing to matchmake you with literally anyone else. Splatoon 3 kind of invented this problem because the rest of the series didn't work like this. Remember this bar in Splatoon 2? Sometimes it would go up very little after a win, and sometimes it would fill all the way up, based on the ranks of the opponents that it found for you. And once you'd played enough, you kind of got a sense for when that would happen. It would be like, oh, we're steamrolling this team, but that's not going to be very rewarding in terms of ranked bar. Or, oh, this other team has some real killers on it, but if we can somehow win, we're going to get so much meter. That was fun. It's fun to sometimes play against players who aren't at your exact skill level. Anarchy Open also doesn't work like this. Recently I had a run in Anarchy Open with one teammate, where we were getting as few as 2 points of Anarchy power between victories because the game wasn't finding another high-ranked team for us to play against. And it was fine. At least we were getting to play the game. I know X Battle is the mode that's supposed to cater to the most competitive gameplay, but the number one thing that your matchmaking should do for a ranked mode is to make some dang matches. Salmon Run in Splatoon 3, I'm sorry to report, also has a hard matchmaking requirement like X Battle. It will never pair you up with players a certain range away from you in VP level. Because I have even seen the not enough players message in Salmon Run, and that has 4-player lobbies that aren't region locked. Now, it may be less of a big deal there because it mostly only happens if I start freelancing right as a rotation begins and then rank up to high VP quickly. I'll start getting only Japanese teammates and then maybe get not enough players every other job or so. And thank God for Japanese freelancers, by the way. They're crazy. They'll play at like 5 a.m. their time. So shout out to those players and call out to Western Salmon Run players. Where are y'all at? Get out of your cushy little overfisher rooms and come grind some freelance with the people. But mostly I just think a game of this size should never be telling the player that there's not enough players. First of all, it's just nonsense. Of course there's enough players. The game just doesn't think we should be allowed to match with each other. And also, it's just such a demoralizing message to read. The game might as well be saying, sorry, you're playing a dead game. Like, what are we supposed to do about that besides find something else to do? My goal for next season is not even going to be getting really good at Clan Blitz. It's going to be getting to the skill level where the most players are at. Because that way, I will get rewarded with the good matchmaking. That's a messed up incentive structure. We should all be playing this game to get good at it for its own merits, because it's fun, and not worrying about stuff like this. Splatoon 3 is my favorite video game, and X Battle is my favorite way to play PvP in it. So I really don't want to make complainy YouTube videos like this. There's already so much dumb negativity about this game already. But this is pretty bad, right? Like, some of us don't get to play the game. And I don't even know if I should be optimistic that they're going to fix it. It's possible that in Takoroka Division, you just always get matches, even if you're at 1400 or 3800. And that's the division that they get feedback from most readily. The patch notes for the new season coming up only mentions this weird case of rollover excess X power that I've never seen a complaint about. But on the other hand, they did drastically rework the matchmaking for tricolor battles. Those worked completely different when the game came out, and you couldn't get a match on them either at the start. Remember Team Gear? X Battle is based on the mode in Splatoon 2, but it's technically only 2 seasons old, so hopefully they're still looking at it. I'm not a big YouTuber or anything, so my best hope is that just by queuing this many times, I have put a weird data point on a scatter plot somewhere at Nintendo's headquarters, and some intern will see it and be like, why did this guy Kokujin queue for Clam Blitz for 2 straight hours and not get a single game? Is everything okay over there? Is this working right? So yeah, consider this a PSA that this could happen to you. Don't get too goofy with it when you do your X Battle placements. Play your main. And like this video if you want more people to know about this. Don't let your friends get shadow banned from X Battle. And let me know in the comments the changes you would make to X Battle, or do you even bother with it? And subscribe to my channel if you want to see me make videos about the modes that actually let me play them. This was my first ever semi-scripted video. Maybe I'll do some more. Okay, thanks, bye.